Welcome, everyone, and to the Ideagen audience. Thank you for giving us this time today. We're happy to participate in the Global Partnership Summit and want to thank Ideagen for welcoming WOCIP to be part of this summit. It's really a pleasure to be here on this day with this esteemed panel, and couldn't be more fitting to be at the NASDAQ with closing bell about to happen. And we're going to hear from our panel, who are minority business owners. We're focused in minority businesses about their perspectives on capacity building. My name is Patricia Cornet. I'm one of the co-founders of Women of Color in Pharma, also called WOCIP. And we do a lot of work with minority-owned businesses, frankly, that have helped us grow our organization. WOCIP is a nonprofit organization focused on empowering women both professionally and personally. We've also expanded our focus across the life sciences in global health equity. And part of our way of fueling that work is working with small minority-owned businesses. So I'd like to take a moment to talk to our panel about their perspective, their connection with WOCIP, and maybe each of you could introduce yourselves and share a little bit about what your organization does. Emmanuel?
I was going to say ladies first, but first next to you. So my name is Emmanuel Ajavon. I am the Associate Director of Business Leadership Programs at the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. My role is leading a portfolio of programs that support underrepresented businesses. We've been doing it for over 40 years now.
And your connection with WOCIP?
Yeah, well, two of the co-founders attended our programs, two pillar programs. So
excited about that.
Wonderful.
Metra.
I am Metra Lundy, and I am a business owner for the last 12 years. I own a fitness facility in central New Jersey called Kinetics, and I am also a coach. I get the opportunity to go on to large stages and talk to folks about self-care and self-empowerment. And I've been honored to be a partner with WOCIP in making sure that self-care and self-empowerment is ingrained in the culture of the organization. So I'm really excited to be a partner.
And also a recipient of the Dartmouth program.
Absolutely, which was super beneficial, and I can't wait to talk more about that.
Lionel.
Pat, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today and to be part of this esteemed panel. I'm Lionel Phillips. I'm the president and CEO of Inside Edge Consulting Group. We're a consulting firm that's been around for 18 years now, and our primary focus is health equity in healthcare. So my relationship with WOCIP has been established for more than 3 years now, and we have worked very closely with them to create a think tank that has been focused in on how to effectively develop health equity at a community level. So it's truly a pleasure to be part of the WOCIP family.
Thank you.
It's truly a pleasure to be part of the WOCIP family.
Well, thanks for those introductions. I think, one of the successes that WOCIP has had is partnering with organizations like the ones that you're either a part of or own, and working to capacity build, not just for sharing from your perspective, but also capacity building for WOCIP. Through our 7 years, we are now at over 1,000 members and 10,000 through our social media channels. But a lot of that growth happened with working with all of you, and hopefully a shared exchange around, what are the challenges and opportunities that businesses experience as they're growing, and what we could do to support each other through that process. So I'd like to take a little bit of time to hear about your experience. Maybe we'll start with Lionel and Metra to talk about the needs of minority-owned businesses and why capacity building continues to be important. Metra?
Yep. So I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to the Tuck School of Business, that program. And what was remarkable about that is that even though I had been in business for many years prior to attending that course, I got the opportunity to see other like-minded people who were also thinking about the same sort of challenges that I was thinking about, things like marketing and branding and community building. And when you have the opportunity to gain knowledge from somebody who is working in the trenches, the various instructors that they have working, but also to be around other peers who are doing similar work, it's really helpful in opening your eyes. You know, I always think of that saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And so when you get into a room and you're around other people and you have these ideas, you're like, oh yeah, I can apply those same sort of skills in my business. So I really, that was very beneficial in terms of me getting that from Tuck. But as it relates to WOCIP, WOCIP gave me an opportunity to try out some of the community building skills that I was also developing. So I mentioned earlier that my role at WOCIP is to help build self-care culture. And what I've learned about women of color is that we tend to put everyone else first. And so the approach that I have been taking in my own business, I'm in Central Jersey, predominantly Jewish neighborhood. And the way that that community looks at self-care is quite different than how women of color look at self-care. And really working with WOCIP has given me an opportunity to change how I communicate the importance of self-care and sort of made it okay. I think a lot of women of color feel bad about taking the time away from their family or work to take care of themselves. And so there's guilt around taking care of oneself. And so WOCIP allowed me to create a different language and communicating like, oh no, in order for you to take the next step, you actually do need to take care of yourself. And here's how you can do it. And so that's been really, really remarkable.
So capacity building around being able to have a different language to reach other audiences. I remember as we were prepping for this, you also talked about becoming more nationally focused and reaching more audiences that way as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So post-COVID, I think all of us have experienced what it means to have to pivot and have a different conversation. And so in the past, I would say, I've been in business for 12 years. So for the first 6 years or so, I was really focused on serving the community within a 3 to 5 mile radius. But post-COVID, we've been able to serve people in other states across the East Coast. So I've had to learn how to communicate with folks in different places differently. Marketing has changed for sure. And we have a hybrid model now. And so, yes, you can come into the studio, you can get training, you can get coaching, but you could also take classes online. If you never walk one foot into our facility, you can still receive the same service, the same level of connection and care. And so, I owe a lot of that to Tuck and WOCIP, that education. So thank you.
And I guess the collaboration through
Absolutely.
a nonprofit working with another organization, just sharing sort of those networks and the connections across the globe that we now have.
Yeah.
Why don't I turn it to you, Lionel?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your experience growing from a capacity standpoint. And I know you didn't participate in the Tuck program, which we'll hear about in a moment. But what have you experienced that's helped your organization grow, and maybe touch a little bit about our partnership as well?
Yeah, Pat, one of the things that certainly comes to mind is the relationship we have with WOCIP. And WOCIP has a number of esteemed, significant voices in the Pharma. And I had the opportunity to meet folks like you and others that are in decision-making roles within Pharma and share with individuals the work that we do and the value that we bring to the industry. And that's very different because when you have individuals that you immediately connect with, because the values that WOCIP has is in line with your values, the vision that WOCIP has is in line with your vision. That connection, the partnership enables for growth of our business because we're able to more effectively get into these larger pharmaceutical companies and demonstrate our value. So that's one thing that certainly I can speak to. The other part is the think tank that we've been doing over the last few years. In terms of capacity building, our industry, particularly pharma, has not put a significant amount of focus on Black and Brown communities.
Mhm.
And WOCIP certainly has been the accelerator in terms of making that relevant and more important, and also demonstrating the value of getting into these communities and demonstrating how to get involved in these communities and actually creating a roadmap that helps our industry understand how to be more effective there. So all important work. We're starting. I don't think we're at the finish line where we can say that we're completely satisfied. It by no means in the area of health equity, but WOCIP certainly is a catalyst to us getting there.
Well, I think the think tank has allowed us to get to the decision makers. Was the thought behind that, and it's good to hear that you are seeing that as a capacity builder, not just for you, but it's also a platform where different businesses are sharing their best practices across working in the diversity space. So let's turn to Emmanuel. I really want to hear about the TUG program, why it exists, what is the capacity that you're helping to build, and what some of your perspectives are from working with these businesses.
Sure. Excuse me. Yeah, so the TUG program, the Diversity Business Program, started back in 1980. It was the very first program dedicated towards supporting and developing underrepresented entrepreneurs. We were at the forefront of identifying, the business sector in general has always been dominated by white males. And the thought that no other population or no other ethnic group could compete was untrue. And it took some time, but back in 1980, we decided that the focus should be on Native Americans, African Americans, Hispanics. And so our faculty, some key faculty, some recent MBA grads who are individuals of color, decided that it was important to start developing and supporting businesses so they can start competing in the marketplace. So we have a few pillar programs dedicated towards developing these underrepresented entrepreneurs. One is a building a successful diverse business, which is essentially for emerging businesses to allow them to have level playing field, essentially. And as long as they've been in business for a few years and their revenue is at least $250,000, they have a basic understanding of what it is to have transactions. And we just provide them with the fundamental tools to help them take their businesses to the next level. We also have another program called Growing an Established Diverse Business Program that allows everyone in that program to scale their operations, again, because oftentimes we are not competing and we're not merging with other companies or buying other companies. So this program, or both programs, really allow them to be a lot more competitive in the business sector. Capacity building, the significance and its importance is clearly demographics are changing, the workforce is changing. As I mentioned, what was once or thought of as primarily a male, white dominated business industry, we're seeing the fastest growing businesses are women-owned businesses, people of color, Hispanic, Asian, African American, etc. And so the demand is definitely there. Our goal is to be able to provide support and development for these businesses so they can be competent and be able to compete with the likes of their peers who don't happen to be people of color.
And one of the things I love about the program is that it creates this alumni network and connection. So as the businesses are growing or applying the learnings coming out of the program,
Correct.
they're continuing to talk to each other. And I get that fantastic brochure every once in a while or
Yes.
newsletter where it's highlighting how the businesses are evolving. So that's a learning too.
It's a learning. Yeah. So it's sort of like each one teach one, you know, an individual goes through the program, they implement, execute on what they've learned. There's a lesson behind that we like to share with those who are coming through the program or those who are thinking about coming through the program.
So Emmanuel, I was exposed to the program. Charlotte, the other co-founder of WOCIP, was exposed to the program when we kind of brought that to WOCIP. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration we've had around the program?
Yeah, part of the beauty of the program is that the program sort of never ends. We continue with the partnership and collaboration and support for individuals that come through the program. So, and that holds true with you and Charlotte. We kept in contact, and I believe you invited me, or Charlotte invited me, or both of you invited me to a conference.
Mhm.
And I was just in awe. I was highly impressed by what you two put together. And it just dawned on me the amount of, first of all, there were a number of individuals who I thought would be a great fit for our program. And so we started discussing opportunities to get some of these entrepreneurs that were WOCIP members through our program. And so it just seemed like a natural fit to collaborate. And so we offered some scholarships to your members to attend, and we've had some fascinating entrepreneurs come through the program. And I know you come through the program as well. And we've kept that, and we're hoping to continue that partnership over the years and the foreseeable future, because you know, we still stay in contact with those alums that have come through the program, and we're seeing them outperform their expectations in many ways.
Yeah, it's been a great extension of how we want to connect with different small businesses to help them grow themselves. And so thank you for continuing to be a collaborator and offering that to our members and different business owners that we've been working with.
It's our pleasure.
So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about post-COVID learnings, or post-pandemic, I should say. We're still in COVID times. Heightened focus on health equity, heightened focus on supporting minority-owned businesses. What have you experienced coming out of that you think needs to stick to continue to be sustainable and successful as a business? And what were your top learnings coming out of COVID? Let me start with maybe Metra.
Sure. COVID was interesting for my community because gyms got hit really hard. No one wanted to step foot in one. All the media was talking about how horrible gyms were. When the truth of the matter is that from the very beginning, gyms are very clean places even before COVID. But there was lots of taboo around that. And so the way in which we approached just gym hygiene had to shift. I mean, we became ultra focused on communicating that this is one of the cleanest places that you're going to be in. So if you're going to the grocery store or you're going to any other place, know that your gym is taking all the precautions that are necessary to keep everyone safe. So ultra focused there post-COVID. That the psychology of that continues. I think there are still people who are navigating what it means to be in this new post-COVID environment. And so we're still super focused on providing, that 6 feet of space and making sure that they're cleaning products everywhere and hand sanitizer and that kind of thing. So we definitely had to adjust to communicate that, make it more obvious. There are some folks who are still wearing masks when they train, or they feel comfortable that if they get a sore throat, that they feel safe, that they could come in and still have a mask on and not be judged. And so making that environment feel safe and okay has definitely been something we've had to adjust to. A lot of my clients are older. Our oldest client, I think I was telling you, just turned 100 years old. He trains twice a week. He's a former Yale professor. So we have everyone from, age 11 training to age 100. And so having just a mutual respect for space and feeling well and being okay with taking precautions if you don't has been something that COVID has definitely made us much more focused on. But I was saying earlier that also having a hybrid program. So if you don't feel okay and you want to train from home, there's the opportunity. All you have to do is turn on your Zoom and voila. And rather than someone speaking at you, you still have an interaction. So you're still going to be able to see your team, interact with your trainer. They can still see your body in action. So it's not like you're just staring at a screen and you're wondering if you're doing it safely because your trainer can see you. So for us, it's been, while COVID was challenging, it's also helped us to reach a broader audience. And I believe that moving forward, we'll need to continue tailoring our programs to make people feel connected and safe and secure, and making them see that training and self-care, it's your life. It's like brushing your teeth or washing your face. It's just the thing you do. And if I could do that at home when I want, and if I could do that in the studio with my family, without my family, well, then it becomes magic, it becomes second nature. And that's our objective, to make self-care second nature.
So you're continuing to monitor how your business structure might change or not, given we're returning to work and there's still this sort of school is still out on whether or not what percentage will stick with hybrid versus being in the office full time, and how that's going to affect your business. You're continuing to monitor that.
No, hybrid is here to stay. I don't believe it's going away at all. And actually, I think it's made it much more accessible and available. Peter, my 100-year-old client, he trained virtually every single day during COVID. And I'm like, if this gentleman could get on screen and do his push-ups off the wall, surely we could figure out how to do the same. And so I've been honored to be a part of a community who's open to that. And I really feel that there are lots of different kinds of gym environments, but the gym environment where the person makes this a thing forever, it's the longevity that you need, this sort of support, you need flexibility. And I am giving myself flexibility in just being able to pivot as my people pivot. So as soon as I notice that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So
Lionel, how are you pivoting? Just building on that theme of hybrid and the changes that we saw post-COVID, still figuring out how the best interaction should take place. We lived in a 2D world we're still living in a 2D world. How is it working for you?
Yeah, I think it's right. The change has been significant, and I think we are certainly in a hybrid environment, and I think hybrid environment will be the way it's going to be for the foreseeable future. I do believe eventually we're going to be back in the office more than we have in the past, as people do appreciate that collaboration is such an important part of business. But I want to step back a little bit because I think the COVID period was significant. I think it was an inflection point as you think of our business, as well as you look at healthcare. George Floyd and COVID certainly put a spotlight on the importance of working within the Black and Latino community in particular, all minority populations, and the importance to connect with them better with their products, as well as with small businesses like mine. We actually grew during the COVID period, and we actually continue to grow. And that, I think, is because everyone began to see an opportunity. And the opportunity, as we all know, is very much driven by the increased population as America gets more brown. The browning of America, some say, as well as the income in these communities are understood, and how it can contribute to the bottom line. As we sit here at the NASDAQ, it's a fact that we should not overlook. And as we include more and more Black and Brown business owners as part of a business model, procurement and other players, folks that are actually decision makers in terms of buying, I think the more they see that these corporations can contribute to their product, the more and more they have an interest in engaging our companies. So we certainly feel that we're part of that inertia, and we're excited. And certainly WOCIP is certainly a enabler for our growth as well.
And just a quick follow-on question to that. Do you feel that authentic connection with the communities of color are happening?
I think so. And they're using organizations like ours that's hyper-focused on really bridging the larger corporations into the community by using local trust makers and using organizations like ours that really do understand the community, as well as they understand the big manufacturers and the products that they have, and really doing that translation so that there is a better partnership with corporations and the community. So I think that's something that's a huge area of growth opportunity. I welcome other entrepreneurs into this area because I think there's a lot of different ways that it could be approached, but I think it's starting and I think it's here to stay.
Before we start to wrap up, I wanted to turn to Emmanuel again and ask, post-COVID, you've heard Metra's learnings, what's going to stick there, hybrid's here to stay, we're better connecting with communities of color. What has changed as part of the Dartmouth program? What are you going to be applying differently moving forward? Are there learnings coming out of the pandemic that are going to change even the training and the application for your program around these small businesses so they can be more successful around these challenges?
Yeah, so I would say certainly we pivoted to accommodate the needs of the entrepreneurs by offering hybrid training, right? Because the limitations to travel, the travel restrictions during the COVID pandemic didn't allow folks to come down into Hanover, New Hampshire and attend our program for a week at a time. So we offered a virtual training session that allowed that flexibility for them to be able to learn these skills from wherever they were in the world. Not much on the content. I mean, historically, so Tuck happens to be the very first school of management, and we're still a top tier business school. So our fundamental approach to business has remained the same. There's certain things that we do need to swivel and accommodate. I mean, just as many businesses have to figure things out along the way.
So swivel versus pivot.
Swivel versus, right. So, however, the one thing I will say that did stand out that was somewhat of a challenge was staffing, right? Because of the pandemic. The fact that many companies transitioned into a hybrid workflow gave options to some people, right? I don't necessarily need to come into the office, right? I can be a lot more productive without having to travel in. I save about an hour of time in just transportation. So they found that their skill sets and their core competencies were better suited in other areas. So they decided to find other work. And so I think not only for some of these smaller businesses identifying staffing issues, I think even when it came to the university, identifying staffing issues was a major part of it, and talented staff. So retaining the staff, developing the staff, supporting the staff. I think if anything, that was the one thing that I believe was somewhat of a challenge that we had to work around. But we offer a world-class program, and it always boils down to the quality. You know, people want to feel like they're making a difference, which is part of the reason I work for Tuck, because I do feel like I'm a part of a team that's having an impact on small and medium-sized, soon-to-be large businesses. And you need to do that with your recruiting efforts, right? You want people to feel like they're appreciated, valued, a part of the team. And as long as you can do that, I think you're going to have a team that stays with you.
So are you thinking that it's going to be more around the lived experience coming out of COVID, those real practical stories that can be shared with the businesses that will flow into the program versus the fundamentals of the program changing itself?
I think it's a little of both. It's going to be very important for us to recognize the needs of what these businesses, the needs of these businesses and how to best accommodate them. But the fundamentals have not changed, at least not for the past 100 plus years. So I think the combination will suit businesses just right.
So maybe in the last few minutes, we could wrap up with a bit of looking forward and advisement to future businesses that are up and coming. We have experts here who've been there, done that, right, and are continuing to collaborate with other organizations to grow and be successful. What would be, in 30 seconds, what would be your top advice to a small business that's getting off the ground now? Lionel?
So I think if you're getting off the ground right now, we're certainly sensitive to the fact that we're going into a recession. So you ought to be hyper-focused on your business plan, just truly understand your vision statement, your mission statement. And as long as you can truly connect your product and lines up with those two things, I think jump into the water, start a business and venture out and partner with organizations like us. We certainly would love to mentor up and starting companies because the more small businesses that are Black and brown, I think the better America will become.
I think Tony Robbins said, where the money flows, the energy must go. And so while there might be a recession, I think that there's always going to be money flowing. And so be a student of your industry. Read as much as you can, learn as much as you can, and try to put yourself in environments where you get to hear what you don't know. And the more aware you are, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to take just one tidbit or two tidbits and apply it to your own life. And that's what it's been for me. I get into a room and I'm like, oh, I never considered that. Okay, let me try that out on a small scale. Okay, let me try it out on a large scale. So if there is an entrepreneur out there who's looking to get started, learn and be a student of your industry is my best advice.
Emmanuel?
Yeah, I would say pay attention to your cash flow and know your limitations, and certainly get a mentor or coach, someone who shares your values, someone who you can speak to and trust. And help. That person will likely guide you and won't steer you the right way. And of course, you want them to be successful because you want to follow in their shoes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Mentoring, coaching, don't go it alone is what I'm hearing. And certainly from a WOCIP standpoint, that's exactly how we feel, that we go further together, working with other organizations. As you've seen through example today, we've built these great collaborations. And we encourage other organizations to reach out to us, reach out to them for that mentorship and coaching. So thank you again, Ideagen, for being part of the global, allowing us to be part of the global summit and the partnership building that you've been doing with us. We're looking forward to continuing this conversation.